Week number 6 of the high school football season is upon us, and this week we are pleased to be joined by the head football coach of the Scott Skyhawks, head coach Jeremy Dolin. Coach, welcome to the program.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
Well, this is a little bit different than what we're used to. The last couple of years we've been doing 40-yard dash. Now we get you on coach's corner, so that's a little change of scenery, isn't it?
Well, you know, I've lost some weight, so I could have probably walked that 40 and not lost breath. But yeah, so it's all right, I guess.
What are you down to now?
Well, I've lost 104 pounds total since January 2020. So
Wow, good for you. That's awesome.
Miracle Manjaro.
Well, you made some news a couple of months ago just about your announcement to retire, step away, whatever you want to consider it, but we'll call it retiring from high school football. Kind of give our audience a little bit of a perspective of what went into that decision and where your head is at now, halfway through the season.
Well, the biggest thing for me was when I applied for the job. You know, I told the administration at the time that I had a 5 to 10 year window that I was looking at. 5 years for sure, because my youngest son, he doesn't play football here, but he does attend Scott High School. He graduates in May of 26, but after he graduates, then I knew I was going to kind of have an empty nest at home. So it was one of those things where my wife is extremely supportive of me and the team and what we do. She's in the stands every Friday night and stuff. But at the same time, like I know she probably wants me home. And high school football is, it's very time consuming, and and that's a lot more than just the X's and O's and aspect of the football game. It's, here, you're the full-time fundraiser coordinator, the full-time marketing and PR guy, the part-time student academic advisor, and and everything else that comes with it. So it's so time consuming that I want to be able to spend a little bit more time with her. And I love coaching. I love being around kids and trying to make them better, human beings as well as the sport they play. So I can see myself at some point in time getting back into coaching. I've coached basketball and baseball at different times too, in lower levels, and I've coached middle school basketball. So I think out of all the jobs that I've had over the years, that might be one that would intrigue me, because one, it leads me to watch football, and I can sit in the stands and criticize the new coach, and like a lot of people like to do. So and then basketball kind of fills the winter out when there's not a whole lot to do. So but we'll see where it takes me. So best thing for me though right now is just kind of be home with her and enjoy our time as we get a little older, and maybe travel and see some stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, kind of along that lines, and you mentioned how you've been here for 5 years. You guys have had a ton of success during your tenure here. We'll get to that in a second, but just take it from a personal perspective. How have you kind of seen yourself grow as an individual during this 5-year stretch coaching the Scott Skyhawks?
Well, again, you learn to get tough skin. I felt like I had thick skin going into the job, and I felt like that I could handle all of it for the most part, and I have, but it gets even tougher every year. So, and when you're in a small community and you're coaching, I don't really worry about what anybody says about me. I know at the end of the day that I'm going to do the best job that I can, and try to treat the kids as fairly as I can, and but not everyone's always going to see it that way. So, I just at the end of the day, I know what I do, and the men that I have in here, I've got some really great coaches that have came through that door the last 5 years, and some of them have been with me the whole time, and some of them have kind of went on to pursue other things as we went along. But that's been my biggest thing, is just having good men in here that help these young men and help develop their character, and hopefully prepare them for life and not just a game of football.
In regards to just the player success you guys have had here, let's talk about that. You guys have had a lot of success over these last couple of years, a couple of conference championships along the way. Talk about just the growth of this program from where you got it in your first year to now it being your 5th year here at Scott. How have you kind of seen the program grow and evolve during this stretch?
Well, when we inherited the program, it was coming off a stretch in which we'd won like 4 games in 3 years, and I think it was 13 games over 7 years, and hadn't been to the playoffs since 2014. So that very first year in 2021, I don't think a lot of people had a whole lot of expectations for us, because of the the program had been kind of on a downward trend there for a little bit. But we got in, we got right to work, and there was a lot of kids that were walking the hallways up here at Scott that weren't playing. So that was my first goal, was to go out and get those kids and get them back into football, because I knew there were some really good athletes in that class, like Landon Stone and Kevin Neal, who hadn't played football since 8th grade. So needed to get them back through the doors, and once we was able to start getting some of that talent to come back on the field, it made our jobs as coaches a lot easier. And we just kind of 7-3 that year. Made a playoff appearance. Unfortunately, got knocked out in the first round. But the next 3 years, we just seen it kind of build off of that. So those guys that were here that first year, not just the guys that came back and played, but the guys who had played in the last 3 years prior to that, they came in, they bought into our system, bought into us as coaches, and it really allowed us to, keep getting people come out and play. So, we went from having, I think, the year that I took over, the year before they had like 24 kids on the roster, and so we've had rosters as big as 50, 55 kids. So, when you're winning, it's easy to attract, players and get them to come out and stuff. So, the other thing for us was to kind of get in and, give the program a new look. And we went back to the traditional yellow instead of the Vegas gold, and tried to get new uniforms and stuff. So we a lot of money, a lot of time and effort, and a lot of community support made that happen. I mean, we're at the point where we have 6 different Nike jerseys and 5 different Nike pants, and we got all these great helmets. And actually, the county just bought us 65 brand new Vices helmets. So my goal was, when I did leave here, that let the program in better shape than what we found it. I'm not trying to badmouth the other coaches or anything that was here prior to me. I don't mean that by any means, but you always just want to build off of what was here. And we also got a new scoreboard thanks to Memorial Hospital and Stevens Auto. So I'd like to get the turf redone, but some things are just, the new coach will have to work on that one. But I feel like we're leaving in good shape.
You mentioned a lot of different things there, just about building a program. You mentioned a new scoreboard, fielding a new turf, just a lot of different things along the way, both financially, mentally, and emotionally as well. From your perspective as a coach, what truly goes into building a program, but also a winning program as well?
Well, I mean, culture is the biggest thing, and like I said, I'm only as good as the people I surround myself with. So, I could sit here and take all the credit for it and sound like a pompous butt, but at the same time, that's not how it is. Like, I've had, like I said, some really good men that have walked through the door that helped me. Like I said, that first year, a lot of people were like, well, that's just a bunch of midget league coaches. We had a lot of people didn't realize we had 30 years of experience on the coaching staff at the time, and but actually it was like 31, but 30 of them was with one guy, and that was Coach Elkins. So, but that's the type of Sean Elkins is the type of men that I wanted to have in the locker room with me, and I had a really good offense coordinator in Glenn Fry. It didn't hurt that he had a really good quarterback at home with him that
True.
He got to tutor every day, and just like I said, there was so much talent that's came through these hallways and in this locker room in the last 4 or 5 years. Like, I'm just glad I was able to be a part of it. So, but I think culture and winning are the 2 biggest things that you can have that make a program successful, and you can't have one without the other.
You mentioned the community support side of things, and you just drive by the school and there's a ton of community support, whether it be with the sponsorship signs or just a normal Friday night game here in Madison. I mean, there's a lot of energy around a football Friday night. Your perspective of that, how much has this meant to you to have a large congregation of people rally behind not only you and your staff, but also this team during the 5 years that you've been here?
Oh, I mean, you couldn't do the things that you want to do for the kids without it. I mean, whether it's like you said, showing up here on a Friday night and walking out on the field, and like I said, I still get goosebumps thinking about in 22 when we played Logan here for homecoming. I've never seen so many people here in one night, and so just having that wave of black and gold in the stands and stuff, and then like I said, whether I need to, I want to have some pizzas for my boys one evening after practice, and it's just a matter of me shooting a text message or making a phone call to one of our community partners and locally owned businesses. Very rarely do I ever get a no. It's all like, we'll take care of it. How much you need, or what do you need? Whether it's money, whether it's supplies, whatever. So it is truly a honor to have been here, and but at the same time, like I said, it's an honor to be a part of this community because of the way they rally around these kids and what they do for them.
Give me a long-term perspective now with this program. I know you're still going through your final season here at Scott. We'll get to that in a second. But just give me your outlook in the next 5, maybe 10 years from now. How optimistic are you about the future for Scott High School and the Scott football program?
Well, I'm extremely optimistic. Looking at some of the talent that is, coming behind some of the boys that are here now. The middle school program right now, Coach Jeffrey, Bo Jeffrey, he actually coached here with me, and encouraged him to take that job when it came open, and he's went down there and he's done a great job. And he's done some of the things that I hope that he maybe had picked up off of me. But he built a program, attracted kids to come and play, and I think he's sitting around 35, 40 kids a year. They're winning football games, stacked with athletes right now. And so I'm excited because I think the next coach coming in, the cupboard's not going to be completely bare. I think he's got a wave of talent coming that probably next 5 or 6 years. One of the biggest things was a lot of people, in the community know, but your audience may not know. But I was a real big part of our midget football league here, and so at one point in time we had 3 midget football leagues in this community. You had the Danville Panthers, the Madison Colts, and the Ramage Skyhawks. And as coal has kind of dried up in the county, as coal's kind of dried up in the county, we've had to make some changes. We got to the realization that we couldn't have 3 midget league teams. We had to combine not just talent but resources. So in 2018 we were able to form the Danville Hawks, and myself along with Todd Mitchell, who was the president for a couple of years, and Dean Brenniger, and a lot of other good people, Timmy Clay, who was the president of the Colts. We were able to come to an agreement on this merger and made it happen. And I think what you're starting to see now, more so than ever, is the fruits of that labor, because the groups like Carson Brenniger and some of them, they played at the Hawks, but they were on the tail end of it. Now you're starting to see the kids that started there in D team that are working themselves up through there. And by combining, they were together, they were actually able to play in bigger leagues. So they're starting to see better competition too, because when you're playing each other, you get a false sense of how good you really are. Mm-hmm. So now they're getting out and they're going to go to these communities and playing. And for several years they were in the Mountain State Elite League, where they were playing like Hurricane and Winfield and Sissonville and some of the teams that we play in during season. Now they're in the Southern West Virginia Football League, but they're still playing like teams like Chapmanville and Logan, Mingo. So they're still seeing a lot of the same competition they're seeing at the high school level, and they're getting tested early, so that gets them prepared to play at the high school level. So that's one of the exciting parts I think about the whole thing, is that I get to sit back and know that I was a part of that, and know that I was a part of this, and hopefully, like I said, we'll see, and maybe next coach will have a state championship and be able to hang, and I'm saying I hope I get a little piece of that, a little credit for that, but I don't need no credit. At the end of the day, like I said, it's all about these kids in the community and stuff. So, but I'm excited for the next coach.
Let's talk about this season for you guys. Not the start you necessarily wanted to start the season through your first 4 or 5 games, but just kind of walk me through how important the second half of the season is for you guys. What are you wanting to learn about your team as we enter the second half of the season?
Well, it's about perseverance. I mean, as you mentioned, we've gotten off to a slow start for us. We're 1-4, but we've played a very tough schedule. If you look at it, Independence and Chapmanville were 2 extremely talented football teams, and and we took a couple butt kickings. But at the end of the day, like, I wouldn't be surprised if Independence is not playing in Charleston, and come November, I guess November. But at the same time, we've been in some games. We had Wayne here, and I felt like that was a game that we could have won. And then just this past Friday, I mean, we lost 19-0 to an undefeated Mingo team to 6-0. But I mean, we played hard. I mean, and that's what I told the boys after the game. My 3 key words are focus, effort, and heart. And I felt like we demonstrated all 3 of those Friday night. And that's what we have to continue to do every game. And but it starts here Monday through Thursday. Get in here, be focused on your job, learning what's being taught to you as far as installs, anything position specific, and then and give it your best effort. But I look at our schedule, and we still have a couple tough teams. We still go on the road to Logan and Roan, start with these next 2 weeks. But if we're capable of playing the way that I feel like we're capable of playing, there's still a shot to get in playoffs in the back end, and that's, you got a 4-year playoff streak riding on the line, and so I know the boys still want that, and like I said, I seen it Friday night. I seen a fire in them and a fight in them that I was kind of concerned after we played Independence that may have got knocked out of them, but they showed up here Friday and they gave everything they can. So we'll see. That's why you play them every Friday and see how it goes. But I think we're capable.
Who's been a guy or two, in your opinion, or maybe even a position group that's made a lot of strides in their game throughout the course of the season?
Well, I mean, honestly, right now, I got a couple guys that I feel like can potentially play some college football, and one of them right off the bat is Ryan Neal. Ryan's a kid that he's a senior, and he's done everything that we've asked of him this year. So he's played, or the whole 4 years. He's played more this year than he ever has. So he doesn't come off the field, but you know, whether we're asking him to play defense or offense, you know, he goes out and he makes plays. But one of the big things for us is, you know, with not being as explosive on offense as we have been in the past, and trying to, you know, play a defensive game and, you know, take advantage of field position. Like, he's been able to flip the field. Like, he can punt the ball as well as anybody I've seen in high school football. So, you know, a lot of people's probably like, "Oh, man, he's bragging on the punter." But hey, listen, at the end of the day, if I got a kid that I can look at him and tell him, like, "Hey, I need to pin a team back," you know, put it in the coffin corner, and he did that just Friday night. I mean, you know, put Mingo on the 3-yard line. So, you know, he's been one. You know, you got another guy like Mason Brown who's played line. You know, most of the time he's been here. He's converted to running back this year, and you know, he's done a good job. And I got a couple guys, young guys, that have been playing some defensive linemen as freshmen. They're rotational guys right now, and I've seen them every week develop and get better. And you know, hopefully at some point in time we may even see them at offensive line if we need them. And but you know, just it's a matter of getting in and work and then competing with one another and stuff. So we got a good group here.
Have you started to think about that last game that you'll have here at Scott High School, on this field, I should say?
Well, honestly, that's one you can't help but think about. We play Sherman, who's a county rival, of course, and then in addition to that, it's Halloween night, so you know, it should be kind of interesting. So, yeah, and it's hit that reality of, like, man, it's coming, you know, and because it won't be long until we're at Williamstown, you know, for that last game, and hopefully, maybe, you know, like I said, it's not the last one, but at the same time, it's starting to hit me a little bit, so I won't lie.
And then one last question for you before we get you out of here. I've asked every single coach here, people in the audience know this as well, but just kind of give me your perspective. You've been around the game now for 5 years, looking back on 2020, leading into that first season, 2020, 2021 for basketball. That was the first year for 4 classes. Now that's been implemented into football. We've had NIL introduced this past year, this transfer portal as well. There's been a variety of different things that's just been swirling around West Virginia high school athletics. But just from your perspective as a coach that's been around the game for a number of years now, you've had some success along the way. Where is your head just in regards to where we are at currently with the state of West Virginia high school athletics and football?
I mean, honestly, I think we've made some progress. I think the classification system was a good thing for football. You know, I think it gives more teams a chance to compete, you know, for a state championship, and I think it kind of makes it more of an even playing field. That competitive balance is extremely important, and you know, I don't know that it's perfect yet, but I think it's probably pretty close. You know, I know last year was a lot of drama, you know, with the first changes that were made.
Just a little bit of drama.
Yeah,
just a little bit.
And I'm not sure I understood that formula ever. So I don't know how some teams were, you know, where they were, you know, especially when you look at enrollment. Because I know for me personally, and looking at what our enrollment is, and then if it would have factored in, like, well, you guys are 30 minutes south of Charleston, so you guys are going to bump up to AAA. Like, I would have probably freaked out too, because, like, at the end of the day, like, you have to look at not just the proximity, but are people willing to relocate here? Like, you know, not to downgrade our community any, but not a lot of people are looking to leave Kanawha County to move to Boone County. So, like, that, I don't know that formula was ever correct. I think enrollment is the truest way to look at it, and I think that's kind of where we're at with things, and I think it's, you know, made things a little bit more fair. And I hope that, you know, if there's any tweaks that need to be made down the road, that they'll continue to adjust that. I think they went to every 2 years now. They just went to go look at classification. I do know, as a high school football coach, though, moving forward, that may make it difficult just for scheduling standpoint. Because if you go back to the system of having to have 6 teams in your class in order to be able to compete, and you make a schedule, and then all of a sudden you bump a class, because we're signing 2-year contracts, you know, the majority of the time, what do you do? Yeah. You know, if so, I don't know what the WVSSAC plans as far as that goes in regards to the classification number of teams in your class in order to make the playoffs. So that would be my only concern moving forward if I was still here. But outside of that, I think that they've done a good job as far as the classification piece of it. Now the NIL piece, I really don't know enough on it to speak on it. My understanding is basically it's, players just being able to be paid for likeness and stuff like that. So unless they start making EA video games or stuff around here, that may not happen. I don't know. Like I said, I haven't researched it enough to be honest with you, because I knew I wasn't going to be here as long as maybe the next man. But he may want to know, because it may become a situation where it could serve to an advantage for certain teams in certain areas. I don't know again what the rules are, but let's just say if I'm in Charleston area and a dealership wants to offer kids commercials and stuff like that, and if they can be paid for them and stuff, is that going to attract more kids than a kid living in a rural area? I don't know what all those rules are, but that's just kind of my quick thoughts on the whole situation. I wish it would have stayed out of high school sports. So not that kids don't need to be paid, but I got kids at home and they work Monday through Friday jobs or Saturday and Sunday jobs too. So, but they can be paid for a lot of things. They don't have to be paid for their athletic ability.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. Well, first and foremost, thank you for everything you've done for us, just from our perspective, with just whether it be 40-yard dash or this. Thank you for the hospitality. Thanks for just being true and authentic with that. So appreciate you as always. I'm happy for you and the success you had here, and also looking forward to see what you do in the future. So congratulations, and thanks as always.
And thank you guys. Like I said, you guys have been awesome to work with, and I always appreciated your professionalism and your friendship, because it really does. It makes my job a lot easier talking to you guys. So.
Absolutely, Coach. As the head football coach of the Scott Skyhawks, head coach Jeremy Dolin, be sure to check out our coverage from now until the end of the high school football season by going to our website, wvgazettemail.com. Follow us on Twitter at GazMail Sports, that's G-A-Z Mail Sports, and be sure to follow us on Facebook at HD Media Sports.